The subject under consideration is whether money or distributing money to the poor is a cure for poverty. I said no. Money is not a cure for poverty, but the preaching of the gospel is. Now, this is extracted from an event in John chapter 12, where Jesus went to the house of Mary, Martha, and Lazarus with his disciples. Judas Iscariot was there. And whilst there, Mary poured a very expensive perfume on the feet of Jesus. Judas queried that action. In actual fact, Judas weighed the amount, the cost of that perfume as 1 year salary for a laborer. And to him, that perfume should have been sold and the money given to the poor. He expected Jesus to endorse it, but Jesus said, no, the poor you will always have with you. Now, we can examine this statement in a number of ways. First of all, that Judas said the perfume should have been sold and the money given to the poor. That is poverty speaking. That is how poverty speaks. Welfare does not cure poverty. What cures poverty is empowerment. Now and again, that statement has to do with value versus cost. Judas was able to determine the cost of the perfume without determining the value of the master. It's a serious matter. Question is, what is the value of Jesus to you, to Judas, to Mary, the giver of that sacrificial offering? Judas all along was hanging around Jesus, but had no value for the master. Let's trace the spirit of poverty. First of all, the poor, to me, has a mentality disease caused by the disease germ povertitis. It hits their mind and it affects their behavior. In Genesis 41, poverty visited Egypt. What was it? The king has seen cattle, fat cattle and lean cattle. I mean slim. And the lean cattle were eating up the fat cattle. In fact, they ate them. And it was noted in the Bible that after they had eaten the fat cattle, they were still lean. That is the spirit of famine. That is the spirit of poverty. Eating, consuming, and spending. And you have nothing to show for it. And that's what we experienced in Ghana in 1983. People sold their property, sold all manner of things, yet their condition did not improve. Valuables were sold. I mean, the fat cattle represent valuables. But the spirit of poverty, the lean cows, came to devour them. And after devouring them, they were still very lean. That's it. So, you give money to the poor, they spend it, their status will still remain the same. But there is something that changes poor people. Consistent preaching of the full gospel of Jesus Christ. Let me tell you the difference between the poor and the rich. Like I said, the poor want to eat, spend, and consume. But the rich mentality, and mind you, you don't need to have all the wealth to be rich. It starts with a mentality. Yeah, as a man thinketh, so is he. So this is it. The poor eat, spend, and consume. But the rich will seek occasion to save and to invest. Now, there's a law. I call it the law of consumption in the Bible. Right in Genesis. Genesis 1:29. At the very onset of creation, God puts in place a law of consumption. And this is a summary of it. It is not food until it contains seed. God says, I have given you the seed-bearing fruit, and that shall be your food. So for it to be food, it must have seed. It must contain seed. Otherwise, it is no food. So the wise, the rich mentality person would want to separate the seed from the food. And that's what Isaiah 55 verse 10 says. God gives seed to the sower, but that same seed to the eater, it becomes bread. So you have the same amount of money. To one who is rich-minded, will want to separate an aspect of it for savings, for investment. But believe you me, the poor will want to eat and spend everything. Can you imagine people make what we call susu? Susu, it's saving in order to use later. And after doing the susu, they take the amount and guess what? They spend it. But the rich will not do that. Let me tell you, poverty does not mean not having anything at all. But it's this compulsive spirit that tells you that what you have is not enough. Not having enough on a permanent basis. That's poverty. And because of that, the poor does not give. The poor has something within them that is self-destructive. Kills them. That's why Judas Iscariot killed himself. That's how it is. So my dear, next time, in the next series, I'll be touching on what the gospel entails. There are those who think that prosperity, wealth creation in church is another gospel. Very interesting. I will tell us, between Paul and Jesus Christ, who really understands the gospel.